that just because Esther did not put up a fight to the death in this story, just because Esther did not, run for the woods, just because Esther did not throw herself out of a window rather than go with these guards when they came to her house, does not mean that Esther deserved what happened to her that night. It does not mean that Esther asked for this. It does not mean that this sexual assault was Esther's fault. Now, I read a whole bunch of things in preparing to lead you this morning that insinuate otherwise. I'll just give you a few examples. There was a 15th century Jewish commentator who said it like this: Esther should have tried to commit suicide before allowing herself to have intercourse with Xerxes, an uncircumcised heathen. You feel that? A modern commentator said it like this: Esther was willing. Esther was willing to be poked, prodded, fattened, fumigated, perfumed over a period of 12 months for a one-night stand in the royal bedroom. This is actually no worse than the preparation that many endure for the sake of a potential career in Hollywood or as a high flyer in business. And then there was this from an American pastor: Esther's behavior is sinful, and she spends around a year in the spa getting dolled up to lose her virginity with the pagan king like hundreds of other women had. She then performs so well that she's chosen as his favorite. Today, Esther's story would be a beautiful young woman lives in a major city, allows men to cater to her needs, undergoes lots of beauty treatment to look her best, and lands a really rich guy that she meets on The Bachelor and wows with an amazing night in bed. Okay, can you feel the underlying accusation in all of those things? Esther was complicit. Esther was willing. Esther could have avoided this. I want you to hear me saying to you, no, 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 no. And no one is saying that Esther was sinless. No one is saying that Esther was perfect. But Esther is a victim in this story. She had no choice here. This was the story of Esther's life, right? Her people were taken into the land of exile, and Esther was forced to live in that reality the best that she could. Esther's father and mother were taken from her, and Mordecai was assigned to her, and she had to live in that reality the best that she could. And now this: Esther was taken, passive voice, into the king's harem, taken into this contest, taken into this bed, forced to live in this reality the best that she could. Maybe she could have done things a little differently. Maybe not. Maybe she could have hid out for a while. Maybe not. Maybe she could have feigned sickness. Maybe not. But it was not Esther's fault that this happened to her. And that is the first handle that I want to give you today if you have been the victim of a sexual assault. That what happened to you, like with Esther, was not your fault. Again, by that, I don't mean that you are sinless. I don't mean that you are perfectly innocent. I don't mean that you've done everything perfectly right in your life, or even that you did everything perfectly right in the case of your assault. What I mean is that none of that is the point. You were sinned against terribly. With every sexual assault, there is an individual perpetrator who does that. A coach, an uncle, a father, a brother, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a teacher, a neighbor, a boss, whatever it is, some sinner chooses to commit sexual sin. Here's my point. When all of these realities coalesce, social, institutional, individual sin, and they result in something like we've read about today, and they result in a sexual assault being committed against someone, that someone is not to blame. So this happens all the time. Victims of sexual assault tend to blame themselves for what has happened. They say things like this: I shouldn't have worn that dress that day, that night. I shouldn't have taken that ride home. I shouldn't have stayed late for that practice. I should have seen it coming. I shouldn't have been so nice to him. I shouldn't have accepted that friend request on Facebook. I must have sent some signal saying that I wanted to be treated this way. This must be my fault. Something must be wrong with me. I must just be dirty. That's why these things happen to me. I must deserve it. Many people may have looked at you like that pastor, that commentator, that rabbi that I quoted before, and said the same kind of thing to you that they said to Esther. Please hear me. That is not what happened with Esther. That is not what happened with you. You are a victim. You are not an accomplice. You did not ask for what happened to you. You didn't. What happened to you was not your fault. You are not to blame. You didn't deserve it. You didn't ask for it. You should not be silenced. You do not have to pretend like nothing happened. Nobody had the right to do that, to violate you. You are not responsible for what happened to you. You are not damaged goods. You were supposed to be treated with dignity and with respect. You were the victim of a sinful sexual assault, and it was wrong. You were sinned against. Please be set free from the lie of self-blame if that is haunting you. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. Don't live there. Don't.